Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, loving, historical neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so honored and so delighted that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with really fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Tell your kids' teachers, their librarian, their principals, your public librarian, everybody you know. Tell them all about the show. And let them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Audible, Podcast Addict, CastBox. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We have three wonderful guests for you today. Tyra Juliette Schwartz will be joining us to celebrate The Sky is Red. Kale Sudoff will be here to celebrate Stuart Quills and his explosive emotions. And Jenna Morgan will be here to celebrate Twinkle. We would like to invite you to embark on a transformative journey with The Invisible Backpack, A Life of Courage, written by William Hartwick. Are you burdened by past hurts, grief, or trauma? William's heartfelt narrative, born from his own struggles with depression and Tourette syndrome, offers a pathway to lightening your load. Just like you, he knows the weight of an invisible backpack, growing heavier as life unfolds. But in his touching story, William invites you to courageously unpack it, making space for forgiveness, acceptance, tolerance, and love. Join William on a profound exploration of healing, blessings, and inner strength. Through William's vulnerability, he reveals the power of embracing your true self. Don't miss this inspirational tale of resilience and hope. Order your copy of The Invisible Backpack today and embark on a journey of self-discovery and courage. Get ready for a heartwarming adventure in Mommy's Day Off, the delightful picture book written by Jacqueline Christine. When young Louie's mom has to be away for a day, he's in for a wild ride with his dad. From waffle and ice cream breakfast to Wild West battles, they embark on an unforgettable journey filled with laughter and bonding. But as the day unfolds, Louie realizes there's a special magic that only his mom can bring to their home. Join Louie as he discovers the irreplaceable role his mom plays in his life, making Mommy's Day Off a touching tale of family, love, and the unique bond between a mother and her child. Get your copy today at Amazon or at JacquelineChristine.com. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Florida. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called The Sky is Red. Please welcome to the show, Tyra Juliette Schwartz. Hey, Tyra, how are you?
Hey, Jed, how's it going? Thanks for having me on your show.
I'm delighted to have you on. I'm excited for you to tell us all about The Sky is Red.
Yes, so The Sky is Red is my very first children's book. After becoming a mother, became extremely, extremely passionate about children's emotional health. So I wanted to teach my daughter, who's 5, and actually when I wrote the story, she was 4, about the importance of self-trust. You know, it's so important to me to raise strong children, emotionally healthy children. So self-trust is just such a superpower, right? You trust yourself, you have confidence in yourself, and you can accomplish so much. So I had to find creative ways to talk to her about this, right? She's 4. She doesn't want to hear how important certain aspects are. So I started creating these original stories to trick her into listening to these important messages. And one of the ones that kind of resonated with her that she kept asking about was The Sky is Red, which is basically a really fun story about a man who wants to be a superhero. So he goes to find a fairy to get these powers granted. She gives him a test as far as, I need to make sure that you're going to use your powers for good. So he goes out on this journey to complete this test that he gives her. That she gives him. And through this, we go on a journey where we find out that self-trust is actually the only superpower. Really, really fun book. She loved it. So I was like, man, I should probably write this down. And here we are. I feel so excited to share.
This idea of self-trust, can you talk a little bit about it? Can you go, delve a little deeper into what you're meaning when you say self-trust?
I can, yes. I think especially today, with social media, with just so many different opinions and absolutes being thrown at us at different times, sometimes it's hard to remember, to hang on to what you know to be true, right? I mean, there's a huge span of things that it can mean, but let's just give an example. You feel like you can do something, somebody else feels like you can't. I want kids to know, just because you hear you can't, this is not going to happen, it doesn't mean that it's actually true, right? You can hold on to what you feel can happen, can be true, is happening, right? There's also in different relationships, right? There's manipulation, there's peer pressure, and there's gaslighting, which is basically, a form of manipulation where you are being told that what you are experiencing is not actually happening. And it causes a lot of confusion for the person that is experiencing that. I want my daughter, and I want all children, to be able to hold on to what they know is true, right? I mean, having that self-confidence and that inner strength to say, hey, just because somebody else or a million other people are telling me one thing, it doesn't mean that I totally have to discredit what I feel in my heart and what I know in my heart. I have something to contribute to. And you know what? Sometimes the minority are the people that are correct, right? Mm-hmm. So I just want that strength. So I had to find a creative way to say it. And this has inspired so many discussions with my daughter about it. So yeah, I hope it does the same for others.
Well, that's the reason I launched the Reading with Your Kids podcast. I knew if you read with your kids, then they'll learn how to read faster. I didn't know all the other incredible benefits of reading with your kids, but I knew that my relationship with my kids, and they're now adults, it's very, very strong. I knew that the foundation for those relationships were built reading with my kids, but more importantly, having those conversations about what it is we're reading, about the values that I wanted to instill in them, about giving them, empowering them by asking them a simple question like, what do you think about that? What do you think is going to happen next? And it sounds like we're on the same page in that.
We are, Jed. I love what you just said so much, because it's not always about the material, right, that you are presenting them. That just sets the stage, right? It sets the stage for the conversation, for the important questions, for the allowing their brains to tick and say, are there different meanings to this, or what can I get out of this? And just kind of creating that back and forth and that dialogue, just to really set the stage for those important discussions. So I love that so much. And thank you for setting up this podcast, by the way. It's awesome.
Well, thank you very much. It has been a blessing in my life. I've had so much fun doing it. I think it kept me married during the pandemic, because it gave me an excuse to go down to the studio and get out of my wife's hair when we were locked up for 2 years together. You've had quite a career so far, and you've had success as a singer and a songwriter. You've been on tour. You've toured the world performing, and I'm guessing, if I'm not mistaken, because I've made a living as a professional magician for 35 years.
Oh, awesome!
You, as a performer touring with other artists, I'm sure you had a lot of those conversations about the little things that you can't learn in a class that are shared with you from other artists, little nuggets of gold that have helped lift your performance. Yeah,
totally. I've been blessed as well to tour. I was a singer for many different artists, right? So I've toured with Demi Lovato, Puddle of Mud, sung with Keith Urban, Kid Rock, Ed Sheeran, pretty, maybe you've heard of some of those names, right? So it kind of a very different, experience, and to kind of see the way they operate, right? And they're standing out and holding on to they're operating on their terms, right? In their way, right? If they don't have like that self-trust or like that self-confidence, right, they're not going to be able to hold down that position at that level, right? So that's one aspect of that, just kind of like witnessing like how these people internally are just so strong as far as in who they are, right? Which is driving the success. And it was wonderful to see that in close up in many different ways. Another aspect of the touring was that I also was just really wanting to make an impact for children, right? So while I was on tour, I would also go and set up clinics at different schools and things like that to just kind of talk to kids about like having that self-confidence, right? And being able to believe in themselves to get not only just that sort of career going, but just any career that you have or anything that you want to do in your life. You need to have confidence within yourself in order to be able to achieve those things, right? Mm-hmm. Especially, I felt like it was really important for me to spread that message because, for example, as a child, I was teased immensely, right? I was told, you can't sing, I still remember one teacher, I'm just going to put it out there. I remember one teacher that told me and not that there's anything wrong with this profession, but she just told me that I'm going to grow up to be a waitress. And that was it, right? Really kind of very rude and not very, encouraging for a young child to hear, right? So if I would have internalized her truth in that moment, right, I wouldn't have believed in mine, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, I wanted to kind of share that story too and just encourage children to believe in themselves, right? So that's a really big aspect for me. And in my discussions with children in these schools and just hearing what they're dealing with, it also became so apparent that just like instilling these values as young as possible is just so unbelievably important. So I'm really excited about putting this book together and just really, really hoping that it can encourage people to listen to themselves.
Yeah. How can you, I just have to address it. You choose to be a teacher, to go in there and motivate kids. And then you turn around and, because this isn't the only story I've heard. I've heard many stories of teachers just saying horrible things to people.
I don't know how anyone, no matter what their profession is, would feel comfortable ever to say anything to shoot down the hopes and dreams of a child. It is horrible. It's horrible when things like that happen because children are so impressionable, right? And we believe the narrative that is told to us about ourselves, mm-hmm. right? Because we're being told by authority or by adults, right? So again, another reason why that self-trust, that knowing who you are, knowing that just because you're hearing things coming from other places, it does not mean that that is the truth. I mean, that's the choice that person chose to say for whatever reason that they felt like that was the right thing to say, but it does not mean that it is true at all, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They made their choice to say it. You make your choice to know that doesn't even belong in your world, that thought. I don't know how people do that. And I'm sorry to hear that that has been shared by more than myself because that's a big problem. That's a really big problem.
Absolutely. Tell me, we want our kids to be self-confident and we want them to trust in themselves and in their abilities, but we don't want them growing up just sitting back going, well, I'm special. I can just sit here. I don't have to work. I don't have to do anything. The world's going to come to me. You've obviously succeeded because you worked really hard. How do we also instill that message in our kids? Yeah, you need to believe in yourself, but you have to put the work into.
I love that. I love that question. And this is something that I harp on my daughter all the time. In my experience with her, she is so unbelievably smart and it comes natural to her. Super proud of her, right? But I tell her all the time, I say, hey, you are smart. You have something amazing. I said, but do you know what can beat smart? I said, less smart, working harder. I said, there are so many things that go into being successful, right? When I say be confident, believe in yourself, there's not a cockiness that should go along with that, right? I'm confident enough in myself to know that I deserve for myself to work as hard as I can to give myself all the opportunities that I deserve, right? It's not that, things should just come to you because they don't. They don't. You know, I mean, you could just even look at, if you look at the music industry, right? There's amazing talent out there, but is every single person that we are looking up to the best singer or the best dancer? No, but they're the ones that didn't give up. They didn't give up on themselves. They worked as hard as they can. If there was one no over here, they tried to create a yes over here, right? And it's that. So it's like that confidence in yourself to not give up on what you want, right? That's a big aspect of this lesson. That's a big aspect of this lesson. I'm always, may I use the word, annoying my daughter about this, because I'm like, hey, you know, I know that came easy to you. That's great, but let's work. You know, let's dig into this a little bit more. You know, it's that work ethic that is just such a huge aspect of success, and also it's that makes you feel proud, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, doing the thing that comes easy is wonderful, right? But doing the thing that comes hard it just really makes you feel so fantastic about yourself and keeps that self-confidence growing. Yeah.
Hey, you know, one of the things we've talked about here in the podcast over the years is there are a lot of parents out there that they want to bubble wrap their kids. They don't want them to experience any kind of disappointment or loss. They don't want them to scrape their knee, and heaven forbid they should break a bone. But life, you can't go through life like that. At some point, kids are going to experience a disappointment. I'm sure you, despite all your successes, there were some bumps in the road that you ran into.
Oh, yes. Yes. Where do I start? Gosh. And what do I want to share? No, all of the bumps in the road, or the rocks in the road, or the total breaks in the road where you're like, man, what are my options here? That is what grows that resilience, and just makes you such a strong person. I wanted to be a singer for such a long time, right? And I got so many no's and so many. I remember the year that I got one of the biggest gigs, and I got onto the Grammys and the Oscars, and singing A Dream Come True. The beginning of that year, I couldn't get hired as a wedding singer. I got denied and told, like, you know, not what we're looking for, that sort of thing. I mean, that's a small bit, you know, but it's just, again, where the self-trust comes into play, right? Things are going to get hard. You're going to be told no. Things are not going to come easy. Trust that if you keep going and you don't stop and you know what you want, and you'll get there eventually with hard work. I wish I could bubble wrap my daughter, right? I wish I could bubble wrap her, but there's just so much out of your control, whether, you know, your parent, I co-parent her, right? So I actually split custody of her with my ex. We have a great relationship now, but it's just, you can't be in control of your child. Mm-hmm. You can't protect your child when your child's in school. You can't do that. So you, in a sense, like the disappointment that they feel, teaching them how to cope with that and how to grow from that from a very young age is actually so important and so healthy for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like when we go to the gym and we're, you know, lifting those weights, we're actually tearing the muscles, and when they heal, we get stronger.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I love that.
Yeah. You mentioned that there are these stories that you created for your daughter. Is The Sky is Red the first in a number of picture books you hope to share with the world?
Yes, absolutely. This is the first, and it was, I'll be honest with you, I was so confident in this story, and I loved this story so much. It poured out of my heart in a day on paper, and with very little revisions needed. But then the publishing aspect of it and the next part of it as a newbie was just so unbelievably intimidating, and so many question marks. So that part took me quite a long time to figure out. So that said, yes, now that I kind of like broke the seal, as you can say, yeah, definitely the stories are a part of my heart that I've been telling her, and really, really excited to get them down. And yeah, I'm sure that the next time that this process will seem a little bit more familiar for me. So I'm grateful for that.
I'm going to go out on a limb and plant a seed. had my second interview with Raffi, the iconic children's recording artist. Any chance that you're going to turn the stories in The Sky is Red and the future books into music for kids?
Yes, there is definitely a big chance of that.
Wonderful. That's really wonderful. I'm excited about that, and I hope that you'll come back to celebrate the future books and the future music that's going to come from your mind and imagination.
100%. And I really just want to thank you for having me. It's such a great experience to meet you. I love what you're doing here. So really awesome to celebrate my first book here with you, and excited to come back and about what's coming next.
Let's tell everybody where they can go to find out more about The Sky is Red and more about Tyra Juliette Schwartz.
Yeah. So my website is tyrajuliette.com, and then you can get the book on Amazon. It'll be distributed again, across multiple stores, but I know as of right now, it's on Amazon, hardcover, paperback, ebook. The audiobook will also be out soon. So you could just search Tyra Juliette on Amazon or Tyra Juliette Schwartz on Amazon, and it will pop right up. And the Sky is Red.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Sky is Red. It is the debut picture book from our guest, Tyra Juliette Schwartz. Tyra, thanks so much for being with us.
Jed, you're awesome. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
We have an announcement to make. We have a brand new Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Bill Bailey, Please Come Home, written by A.N. Stewart. This is a heartwarming tale that transports readers to the colorful streets of New Orleans, where the enchanting power of music connects a group of spirited cats with the world around them. This delightful narrative captures the essence of community, friendship, and the magic of music in a charmingly illustrated story. At the heart of the story is Bill Bailey, a friendly feline who yearns to communicate with humans. Yet, despite his best efforts, he finds himself unable to bridge the gap between species until a chance encounter with an elder cat reveals the secret language of music. Inspired and determined, Bill Bailey gathers his fellow Shotgun Shack kiddies to embark on a musical journey, forming a brass band that captivates the streets of New Orleans with its melodious tunes. Stewart's storytelling is imbued with warmth and whimsy, inviting readers of all ages to join Bill Bailey and his furry companions on their musical escapades. Through vivid imagery and playful characters, the sights and sounds of New Orleans leap off the page, creating an immersive reading experience. With its promise of future adventures in the Shotgun Shack Kitties series, this book is sure to delight children who adore cats, music, and imaginative storytelling. In conclusion, Bill Bailey, Please Come Home is a charming and uplifting tale that will leave readers eagerly anticipating the next installment in the series. Our certified great read panel love this book. We think you're going to love it too. It is Bill Bailey, Please Come Home by A.N. Stewart, our latest Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Ohio. Our guest is here today to celebrate his latest picture book. It's called Stuart Quills and His Explosive Emotions. Please welcome to the show, Kale Sudoff. Kale, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm really excited that you're here today. Tell us all about Stuart Quills. Who is this character?
Well, Stuart Quills is a porcupine who is extremely smart, and because of this, his teacher decides that he's too smart for his original class. She sends him to a new school that she feels will challenge him more, but Stuart does not like change, so he is extremely nervous to go to this new school, and whenever Stuart's nervous, something really special happens. And this special thing might get in the way of him making new friends at his new school.
I'm guessing this special thing that happens sometimes isn't a positive.
It is not.
Yeah. There are a lot of kids out there that probably experience some of the same thing. Were you one of those kids?
Yes, when I was younger, I was born with a stutter that was like especially evident when I was reading. So that was something that I got picked on quite a bit for when I was younger. Um, as a result, I really didn't like books all that much up until about a few years ago. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Wow. Well, as somebody who had a similar situation when I was a kid, I had a very bad stutter and did speech therapy for many years. I can relate to that part. It's been about 100 years since I was in first and second grade, so I don't quite remember being bullied, although I went to a school where I had lots of cousins going to school with me, so that might have made a difference. Yeah. What was it? You were telling me before we started that you're a student in college right now. You're in your freshman year. You must have a really busy and full calendar. What inspired you to add to that load by writing kids' books?
Well, I've been writing ever since I was about 15 years old. I think it was the beginning of my junior year in high school that I started writing. Back then, the homework load definitely wasn't what it is right now. But, yeah, when you love something, you'll make time for it. You'll do everything in your power to make sure that you can still keep those things in your life.
Yeah. Now, I'm guessing in Stuart Quills and his explosive emotions, I'm guessing that he found or was taught some strategies to help him deal with his emotions. Am I right about that?
Yes.
So what kind of things are kids and families going to learn about as they're reading the book? What kind of strategies might some kids who are reading the book and experiencing similar difficulties learn?
Well, the main person who gives Stuart advice in this book is his mom. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning of the book, Stuart really does not want to go to this new school, and she gives him this advice and says, if we never put ourselves out of our comfort zones, we'll never grow. And Stuart does not want to hear this at the time, but as the book goes on, he begins to realize that her advice is true. He experiences some frustration, but at the end of the book, he realizes that what he was looking for all the time to try and fit in, he didn't have to change it all. What was getting in the way was his nerves all the time. He just had to be himself.
One of the things that we hear, not only on the podcast, but in the media and see it on social media, is this new reality that we're facing, where more and more kids are experiencing some level of anxiety. Some kids are experiencing really severe levels of anxiety. Is that something that you're seeing in your life? And if you are, what do you think might be causing that anxiety?
Well, we live in a day and age where I feel like there's a lot more pressure on kids to fit in, and just where you don't feel that you're supposed to be an individual person, where you just want to fit in with the crowd. And I feel that this isn't the most healthy thing, and I feel that kids should be doing their best to try and stand out. And that's the only way that you're going to make a difference in the world. If everybody's just trying to be like somebody else, then our world's not going to be a great place to live.
Well, I certainly agree with you. Where did you find the courage and the resilience to deal with things that are outside of your comfort zone and also stand out from others?
I've been Drawing ever since I was, well, as long as I can remember, and that's where I derived most of my confidence from when I was younger. That was an area where I definitely received praise for. It was an area where I could just really be myself and express myself. Writing was definitely not something that I was comfortable with. And being an author definitely has pushed me out of my comfort zone. I really was bad at public speaking when I was younger. I really didn't like talking to people all that much either with my stutter and stuff. So being an author has made me go out and give speeches. I've been on several of these podcasts. I've gone and spoken to kids in schools, about 400 kids at a time. It's been crazy. And yep, all this stuff has pushed me out of my comfort zone. I can't say that I really wanted it to happen at the time, but I'm so glad that it did. And I've enjoyed all of those things. And yep, whenever one of these events comes up, I'm actually really excited now.
What is it? What's the main message that you're giving to kids, not only through your books, but also from these public speaking engagements?
The main message is you shouldn't have to change to make people like you. Even if people say that you're different, be different and stand out among the crowd. You should be proud of your differences, and if kids see kids that are different in a book or even on TV, then they're most likely going to not be uncomfortable around them when they encounter this in real life. And I'm seeking to just make kids more understanding of other situations and let kids with disabilities know that their circumstances don't define them. That's not who you are. It's a part of who you are. And some kids were just born to stand out.
I love that message, and I think that that's worth repeating. Your disabilities or your differences don't define you. It's a part of you, but it doesn't define you. We're all part of a beautiful human family. What's next for you, Kale? Do you look? I know you have 3 children's books out on the market right now. Stuart Quills and His Explosive Emotions is the latest one. Are you planning on writing more children's books?
I am. I have one in the progress right now. It is titled Born to Stand Out, and it is about an elephant who is hearing impaired.
That's interesting. Now, why did you pick the elephant to talk about hearing loss?
I definitely think it's ironic that someone with such big ears has trouble hearing, but her name is Evelyn, and she loves to paint, and I like looking on the internet, looking for animals that I could relate to artistic abilities. I've seen several videos of elephants painting, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I love elephants. I had a really neat experience. I've been performing educational magic shows at schools and churches and zoos and libraries, and one day I was backstage bringing my equipment in, and I hear this noise just behind me over my right shoulder, and when I turned, there was an elephant walking up the path with me on her way to the presentation that she was going to do, and it just felt so cool to be up next to an animal that is so enormous and I hear is so intelligent. Was certainly a treat and a highlight of my life.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I've never got to see an elephant in real life.
Well, we'll see if we can make that happen. We'll keep our fingers crossed so that can happen for you. In the meantime, people should know where they can go to see you and to learn all about Stuart Quills and his explosive emotions and all about your other books.
Okay, my books are all on sale on Amazon. My publisher has a website. It is Imagine We Publishers. I'm on several other websites. I think I'm not really sure which all websites I am on.
And
contact.
Do you have a website or a social media handle that folks can find you on?
Yes, I have a website. Let me pull up the name real fast. Okay. All right, it is kalesudoof20.wixsite.com/portfolio. It's a really long name, but that's my website.
Awesome. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Stuart Quills and his explosive emotions. Our guest has been Kale Sudoff. Kale, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's been really fun.
This episode is brought to you by Jane Escapes to the Jungle of Individuality, written by Jennifer Nestor. This is a captivating and award-winning children's book that celebrates the beauty of uniqueness and self-acceptance. It inspires young readers to embrace their own individuality by covering important topics like bullying, high-functioning anxiety, and mindfulness. This vibrant picture book is perfect for kids ages 4 to 9. Be one of the first to pre-order and take advantage of some exclusive early bird reward specials starting on April 29th, and it's available through Kickstarter. Rewards like signed hardcover copies, Jane plushies, Jane backpacks, posters, and more. Act now by visiting jenestoreauthor.com and clicking the pre-order button today. This episode is also brought to you by Nursery Rhymes for Kinder Times, written by Pam Gittleman. This award-winning children's book contains 8 updated nursery rhymes designed to nurture kindness, empathy, and gratitude, with beloved characters and situations that allow them to illustrate a range of emotions while modeling what it means to be kind and compassionate. This collection will delight and educate a new generation of children and the adults who love them. Plus, every rhyme is coupled with emojis and discussion questions to support the social and emotional intelligence of preschoolers. It's the perfect gift for new parents, new grandparents, a great addition to your own home or school library, and a unique take on teaching kindness and language skills to our youngest learners. You can order your copy today at Amazon or wherever you buy your books online. Nursery Rhymes for Kinder Times, helping to raise kind kids one rhyme at a time. Hey, are you ready to ignite a passion for reading in your students? Introducing bookandauthor.com, your gateway to literacy connections. With bookandauthor.com, connecting your school with talented authors of captivating kids' books has never been easier. Simply visit our user-friendly website and explore our extensive database of authors. Filter your search based on budget, genre, and availability. Discover the perfect match for your school and your students. But that's not all. With bookandauthor.com, you have the power to request a proposal. Let vetted authors come to you with their tailored ideas, ensuring an unforgettable literacy experience for your students. Don't wait any longer to inspire young minds through the magic of books. Visit bookandauthor.com today and open the door to a world of literacy connections. Bookandauthor.com, where literacy comes to life. Join us right now from the beautiful state of Massachusetts. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut children's book. It's called Twinkle. Please welcome to the show, Jenna Morgan. Hey, Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. I am doing fantastic. I can't wait for you to tell us all about Twinkle.
Yeah, of course. I'm excited.
So what's the book all about?
Yeah, so Twinkle is a children's book. It's kind of geared to the younger elementary school age, but it's about a little girl named Twinkle who is feisty and fun and anything but ordinary. And she finds herself in kind of a predicament because a lot of her peers don't really see how unique she is. So she kind of struggles with whether she stay true to herself or whether she should try to conform and kind of be like everybody else and follow the path that everybody else goes down. And she kind of comes to this moment of, is this something that I want to be true to who I am, or do I want to just be able to be like everybody else? So she kind of faces that realization, and then she basically decides that, no, you know what, I'm cool, I'm awesome, I want to do the things that I like to do. I like to wrestle with my brothers, I like to dress eclectically, I like to get muddy and wild, and she ultimately decides to kind of be herself, and regardless of what other people have to say. So I have a 6-year-old daughter who it's kind of loosely based off of. It is a fictional book, but those cool little girls who just kind of goes with the flow and does what she wants, and I've never been able to tell her how to dress or what to do, and she just kind of goes with it. So it was kind of a great experience to be able to write something that was loosely based off of her, but also kind of speaks to this idea of, you know, you may not be like everybody else and people may have something to say about it. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be miserable trying to fit in, then you might as well just have fun and be yourself.
Well, that's a great lesson for kids to hear. Being true to yourself is so important.
Yep, definitely. I think it was one of those things where it's funny because I always tell kind of the anecdote of my daughter has always had really wild and curly hair, which is how Twinkle's hair is in the book, and you can kind of see her trajectory throughout the book and kind of her crazy outfits and the way that she dresses. But I like to tell my daughter, I mean, she's only 6, but she's taught me way more than most of the adults that I've met in my life because she kind of just goes with it. I mean, the first time, it's funny because I wrote this book, and then I think it was right after we started the illustration process, my daughter decided to chop all of her hair off. And I don't mean like a little bit. I mean, she wanted part of her head shaved, and I was probably having a meltdown of epic proportions of like, I don't know if I can do this, even though it was her hair, you know, like she was the one that wanted to do it. And I remember her just looking at me and being like, Mom, it's just hair. Like, it'll grow back. It's not a big deal. And it kind of made me sit there and be like, well, why do I care? You know what I mean? Like, what was making me think that it was such a big deal when really this then 5-year-old was kind of like, it's not that serious, Mom. Like, it's okay. So, it kind of just reinforced the idea of Twinkle, right? Of, you know, there's a standard way of doing things. There's certain ways to dress and certain ways you should do your hair as a little girl, or at least that's what it seems like. And sometimes you just got to go your own way and do your own thing. So that's ultimately the message of the book.
Now, you were saying that this book is inspired by your daughter and her personality. Is this something that you dealt with when you were a little girl?
Yeah, I mean, I think instinctively, little girls in general always kind of have certain comments that are made. Like, there's a couple of things that people say to Twinkle in the book, right? She's messy, she's too loud, she's always muddy, or she gets her dresses really muddy, her boots really muddy. And I think it's funny because, especially now being a parent, I have 2 older boys and my youngest is a girl. And you don't really realize it in the moment. Like, as a kid, I remember hearing some of those comments and I was just kind of a tomboy. But you don't necessarily, or it doesn't impact you as much until you I feel like you see it right in front of you, right? Where I have a little boy covered in mud and I have a little girl covered in mud right next to him, and people are only commenting on the girl. So, I think I would imagine that most girls have had some type of comment, whether it be about their their clothing, their hair, the sports they play, or how messy they get. So yes, I certainly experienced it, but even at a young age, I was starting to get comments of her because she's loud and she's boisterous and she's fun and, she doesn't like to be told what to do. So that's definitely been something that I experienced as a kid, but also experienced having a young little girl.
Yeah. Did you always, want to be an author?
I did. So it's funny because a lot of my family members didn't even know that I was writing. But I have notebooks from literally, I was probably 10 years old, like 5 subject notebooks filled with stories. So I have a lot of backlog, I'll say, of whether it be children's books or adult books, that I've started to write, and I just never did anything with them. So I finally decided, I got to get something out there. This was the one that spoke to me the most, and especially having my daughter right there, she's so cool. And I was like, if there's a character to get out there right now, I feel like Twinkle's it. So that was kind of my first choice.
That's wonderful. That's really, really wonderful. What's the experience been like now that the book is out there? How did your daughter react? How did you react when you first had the book in your hands?
Yeah, I think I've been really, really happy and grateful, honestly, at the response. A lot of my family members and friends and the local community has kind of jumped in and embraced it and kind of loved it. I've gone to the school a couple times for different readings. My daughter thinks she's famous now, so she said to me the other day, she's like, well, I'm basically like Taylor Swift right now, because like I can sign my books. And I'm like, well, it's not 100% about you, but sure, go for it. You're 6. Go have fun. So I don't know if I've created a monster there, but she's enjoyed it. And I think certainly it's given me that reinforcement of like, you can do it. You know what I mean? Like it's a dream that I've had for decades at this point. And I wasn't sure that I would ever publish something. So to have something on paper available for purchase on Amazon or whatever it is, it's really cool. And it's kind of validating to be able to look at something that you work so hard on and see it out there for people to enjoy.
Are you planning on making Twinkle a series?
It's not going to be a series. I've gotten that question a lot. Although what I will say is my kids are already bugging me because I wrote that one based off of my daughter. Now my 2 sons are like, okay, well, when are our books coming out? So I will say I do have a couple other ones in progress. They're not going to be serialized necessarily, but I think the most important thing, at least when it comes to children's books for me, I just want to see more kids on paper. I feel like there's a tendency to kind of go the magical route, which I love, right? Like unicorns and fairy tales and stuff like that, which I think is really fun. But I just remember as a kid, kind of the TV shows that I would watch and the books that I would read were all about kids, real kids and kind of their experiences. And that's kind of the trajectory that I'm going. I have another book for my son, Damon. He's, the book's based off of him, but the book's called Jitterbug, and it's basically the idea of everybody has a jitterbug, which could resonate with kids in the sense of like ADHD, ASD. You always have these things inside of you that maybe are a little bit different from person to person, and your behavior might be a little bit different depending on what you experience or how your body is made up, I'll say, and what kind of jitterbug you have. So I'm definitely getting pressure from my kids to get those out the door, but I'm excited what those projects will bring.
Well, I know you kids love reading Twinkle with you. What are the kind of books your kids like to read with you or have you read to them?
Yeah, so my kids actually are incredible readers. So I have an 8-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And my 2 oldest are already into chapter books. So Percy Jackson is kind of the new thing that they're into. Although I will say graphic novels are kind of the default. But we've always done since they were probably, I don't know, basically as soon as they could read, we always said, you have to go to bed at a certain time, but if you want to read, you're always welcome to have a book in your bed with you and read and go to bed when you feel comfortable. So that's kind of led It's a good thing and a bad thing because they can kind of get themselves to sleep, but then I go in there at 9:30 at night and they're in the middle of a chapter and they can't put it down. So I might have created a little bit of a monster there with my kids, but they just consume so many chapter books. It's wild. So it's been fun just to see what they enjoy. That's
wonderful. Hey, I know people would enjoy learning where they can go to find out more about Twinkle and also find out more about you.
Yeah, of course. So you can go so Twinkle's available in really any major retailer. So Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target. You can just go online and search Twinkle by Jenna Morgan. I also do have a website, www.odyssey-inc.com. You can go there to see some of the new releases, as well as there's a little bit of information about me. And, of course, you can always follow me on Instagram at Real Jenna Morgan.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of the debut children's book. It's called Twinkle, and our guest has been Jenna Morgan. Hey, Jenna, thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Enjoyed talking with you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids and will join us for the next exciting episode of the show. Please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram and TikTok, and at Jedley Magic on Twitter. Hey, if you are listening to us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network and you tuned in late, you missed a little bit, or you want to hear something again, you can always subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, Audible. Wherever you find your favorite podcast, you can find Reading with Your Kids. I'm really excited to let you know about our YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. We love our Drawing with Your Kids series. You're going to love it too. Learn how to draw some of the most beloved characters from the illustrators who created them. You can do it all at Drawing with Your Kids, and you can find those videos on our YouTube channel. You can also find them on our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Go there, download our blog, download our free online magazine, use the contact button to let us know what you love about the show, what we could be doing better, and who you would like to hear on a future episode of the show. And if you are an author, please be sure to click the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page to find out how you can be a guest, being a guest. It's fun, it's easy, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of children's book fans about your great children's book. You can also learn about our fun and effective, affordable promotional services. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking all of our guests and our sponsors. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Chris Doherty, Nick Warner, Kyoko Ito, Kayla Newland, Kristen Barrett, Sydney Swan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of her support. Most of all, we want to thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show. And thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Jedley's award-winning children's book, The Great Maratini.
A very long, long time ago, there was a boy named Sam who liked to do his magic tricks, and he was quite the ham. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. Every trick Sam tried to do would somehow come out wrong, but Sam just kept on going, and that's what made him strong. He was called the Great Maratini, the best magician of his age, but his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. he traveled, he helped a stranger in need. And this was not a trick, oh no, but a magical good deed. He was called the Great Maritini, the best magician of his age. But his greatest feat took place far away from any stage. He was called the Great Maritini, the best magician of his age. But his greatest feat took place far away from any stage.
To get your autographed copy of the giant bilingual edition of The Great Maritini, please visit greatmaritini.com.